Good afternoon again. We are taking up voting list number 6. We have 2 bills for consideration today. We'll start with Senate Bill 534. Patrick?
Senate Bill 534, the Preserve Telehealth Access Act of 2023, extends through June 30th, 2025, reimbursement and coverage requirements relating to telehealth that are applicable to Medicaid and commercial health insurance. Specifically, the bill requires reimbursement and coverage of audio-only telephone conversations between a healthcare provider and a patient, and it also continues the requirement that reimbursement for a telehealth service be made on the same basis and at the same rate as if the service were delivered in person. Senator Geil has offered an amendment that would adopt some study language that's shown on the reprint that you have in front of you. And this requires the Healthcare Commission to study and make recommendations regarding the delivery of healthcare services through telehealth, including payment parity for the delivery of healthcare services through audiovisual and audio-only telehealth technologies. In conducting the study, the Healthcare Commission must determine whether it's more or less costly for healthcare providers to deliver healthcare services through telehealth, determine whether the delivery of healthcare services through telehealth requires more or less clinical effort on the part of the healthcare provider. They must identify the aspects of telehealth that are subject to overuse or underuse or yield greater or lower value. And this is in connection with the inquiry to help inform the debate on payment parity. And then they're to assess the adequacy of reimbursement for behavioral health services delivered in person and by telehealth. They also can address any other issues related to telehealth as determined necessary by the Commission. This report's due December 1st, 2024.
Motion.
Favorable.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second for the favorable on the bill as amended. Are there any questions? Any discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand. That bill receives a unanimous favorable report. Congratulations, Senator. Good work. All right, we'll turn to Senate Bill 79.
Senate Bill 79 is from Senator Kramer. And if you recall from the hearing, this was a bill that would establish a separate grievance procedure. Well, it does establish a separate grievance procedure for instances when state employees are not paid. Several years ago, the state established a workday program to pay their state employees, and the program didn't work very well, and there was a lot of employees that didn't get paid. So in response, the General Assembly passed a specific grievance that if you didn't get paid, you could initiate a grievance under the grievance procedures that apply to your particular service, but with certain remedies that were similar to what applies to private sector employees under subtitle 5, Title 3 of the Labor and Employment article. That grievance procedure only applied to state employees, but not to state employees in the 2 largest independent personnel systems. This bill, as amended, would apply that grievance, that ability to grieve not getting paid, to employees of the University of Maryland system, as well as Morgan State, St. Mary's, and the Maryland Department of Transportation. The reprint in front of you, there was language in here that was controversial in that it could have expanded the existing grievance procedures to general levels of pay, wage patterns. All this would be counter to what can't be grieved under each services or each agency's already existing grievance procedures. That is struck by these amendments. And then there's a separate language added on page 3 of the reprint that specifies that right now under the university system, it says grievances do not include complaints about general use of wages. It creates an exception for in an instance where the employee does not get paid. And it allows them to grieve under this procedure that is established several years ago for most state employees if they don't get paid.
Hey, are there any questions? I have a motion and a second on the favorable. Senator Ellis.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Question, looking at the University System of Maryland favorable amendments. They said the USM system would support amendments to the USM grievance statute under the education article, clarify that such payroll disputes would be subject to the established grievance procedure. So is that addressed in these? This is their amendment that's.
This
Okay.
is their amendment, yes.
Okay.
The sponsor worked with the university to come up with these amendments.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Senator Reedy?
Just real quick, so it's most about wages, correct? I'm looking through it's basically all about if your wages are withheld, this is outlining, is it just a more clear procedure for it?
It's a separate procedure in instances where you don't get paid. There was, if you were, I don't think you were on the committee when this, or maybe you were. No, you probably weren't here yet. People weren't getting paid and they were going weeks and sometimes months without.
I remember
getting paid.
hearing about it. I don't
Yeah.
think I was on the committee.
So there was a separate procedure established. So there were remedies that aren't involved with what's under normal grievance procedures, that they would get their money back and some damages.
Right,
They would entitle these employees of the university system and MDOT to those same.
okay, that's fine. All right. We just had to amend it so that it was clear in the law. We're not saying they can appeal the overall direction of the entire university
Yes.
system.
Yeah,
Right.
that there was language in there that was arguably could have really expanded what you could grieve.
Okay.
Hey, are there any further questions or discussion? We have a motion in front of us, a motion and a second for a favorable as amended. All those in favor indicate by raising your hand. That bill receives a unanimous report. Thank you very much. That concludes our voting session. Have a good evening. Yeah.